So in the meantime, I do the demonstration. Also, I record it. So in case you need it to rewatch them, you can watch online on YouTube. Okay. And I recommend you recycle your clay. Right. Last week you might have some pieces that have been trimmed off your project, and then it might be a little bit stiff because it's running through the slab roller. And it absorbs some water. If you try to use that to recycle, to use it, it's a little bit hard. Okay, a little bit hard. So I want to show you how to rehydrate your clay and make it softer. And also, you want to we call wedge your clay. You kind of knead it on the table here. This is made of a plaster, so it is water much easier. So usually when you are wedging, you want to wedge on the non-porous surface. If you wedge on the table that is kind of shiny and with a lot of paint on it, that is non-porous and your clay is going to stick on there. So make sure you are wedging on the porous surface. Okay, and probably not a good idea wedging right on our working table there with the canvas. If just a very dry clay to wedge it, that's fine. But if you are recycling clay like I did here, it might be too wet and the clay is going to stick all over that canvas. So it's also not a good idea. So bring your clay over here on the plaster, okay? And here you can see that we have 4 different sections. It says dark clay. So if your clay is kind of a dark, like blah, buff, that kind of clay, you do use this spot here. And if you have a white clay like B mix, then you can use the white clay only. Okay, the white clay. If you have white clay, but you want to use the dark clay spot to wedge it, that's fine. But if you have a dark clay, don't wedge it on the white clay spot. Okay, because the white clay spot, people, they want to keep the clay white. Then if you have a dark clay, you might stain it or contaminate their colors. Okay, so that's why we kind of separate them. And before you started to wedge it, clay has been trimmed up from your project, so it's a little bit too stiff. So how do you rehydrate? Since you have this part here, it's slightly thinner like our project, right? So you just submerge it into the water. I would say maybe 3 to 5 minutes. Okay, 3 to 5 minutes. Cut into smaller pieces. Or if your block of clay is too dry, the same thing. Wire it. So cut it into thinner pieces. The reason why we are cutting the thinner pieces, you want a lot of surface area absorb a large amount of water in the shorter time. That's the reason why you are doing so. If you are trying to just spray the water, it's just only on the surface. It's super hard to get it soft again. So this is a very good tip for you. Like slice it and then submerge into the water for 3 to 5 minutes. Then you take it out like here. I already take it out and pour it out from the bucket. You can compare it. I poured it out maybe like 10 minutes before. So when you pour out like this and you try to wedge it, it's going to be super hard because all the clay is going to be very slippery to wedge it on here. But if you let it soak in, let the water soak in further, you see that this is shiny and this is non-shiny, right? So this will be easier than this if you want to try to wedge it. Because you still have water there, so your piece is going to be very slippery while we are wedging it. So that's why pour it out and let it sit another maybe 10-15 minutes, let the water soak in further. Then it will be very easy to just wedge it on here. And once you wedge it on here, that plaster is going to absorb more water, so eventually it's not going to be like this, okay? And you can try to find a spot that has no clay. So sometimes the clay stick on here, right? So just try to bring the clay onto the different spot that plaster is going to absorb more water from your clay. And then you just keep on wedging it and until the clay is sticking all back on into a one solid piece. And if that is still not enough, you could use a scraper to scrape it a little bit, okay? Scrape it off.
Can you suggest wedging the new clay? Because I find that it's pretty hard, even right out of the bag.
Oh yeah, if you find out your clay from the new bag of clay is too hard, do the same thing. Slice it, submerge it in the water, and then do the same thing. Okay, especially when you are doing the throwing on the wheel, you don't want your clay to be too dry. Okay, that is very hard to throw with. So always to get your clay right. Okay, so see that this is good. And if you need to scrape the clay from the plaster, make sure you don't want to use the sharp tool. Okay, any tool that has very sharp corners, that's no good, because once you scrape it up, you might have a plaster going into your clay body. And that is not good, because the plaster, when you go through the fire, the big fire, the plaster is not going to do anything. And once it come out from the kiln, the plaster absorbs the water from the moisture, and the plaster expanded. Some plaster pop up from the surface. So make sure there's no plaster inside.
What do you use to scrape?
Plastic, they're very flexible, and you can just use that to scrape it. And try not to use the sharp corner, because sharp corner you might catch and then scrape some plaster out of it. So that, see that, you could scrape it up easily.
Should you clean the space before you start doing that? Like if you...
Yeah, it's a good idea to clean it, right?
The clay will pick it up.
Yeah, yeah. So clean it, it's better. Yeah. And then, so now, see that? It's a lot easier. And then I'm going to show you how to eliminate the air bubble. Now you are just mixing it. Okay, mixing it. But your clay, because you recycle it, you might have air bubble inside of it. And how do you eliminate it? So that method, this way, if you do the baking bread, you usually do this way, right? When you're mixing your flour, you do that, okay? But this is not a good way to wet your clay, because when you push, you make a little cup there, and then when you wrap a clay around it, you kind of wrap more air bubble in it. So that is not a good way to wet it. So the easiest way is for beginner, okay? For beginner, we call ram's head. You can wedge a smaller amount of clay. Okay, let me show you how to do that. So you're gonna use the center of your palm, hold it on both ends of the clay, right here, right? And then you're gonna use this part here, and push, okay, push. So when you push, you wanna push and kind of slightly squeeze into the center, okay? Not pushing down like this. Slightly hold it and push from the end, and then you push toward the middle, toward the center. Okay, like this. Right, so that's called ram's head. Okay, ram's head. Okay, so you just rotate it. So there's an X here, and then you just rotate it, and then this part here move around. Okay, the clay is actually moving this direction. Right, I make a mark here, and you move it. Okay, so that's called ram's head. But when you're wedging here, if you keep on rotating like this, you are not wedging these two spots, right? So what do you do? Turn it 90 degrees, and then you can wedge this part, okay? So that is how you wedge the clay. But still, when you're wedging this way, you are just mixing it. You are not eliminating the air bubble. If you have air bubble inside, this method, you won't be able to take it out, the air bubble. So my way of fixing that problem is that after you roll it like that, you cut your clay into two pieces, right? See that there's a little black spot. You see the black spot here?
Yeah.
Right? That's air bubble, right? So you want to bring the air bubble toward the surface, right? And then you are attaching these two pieces of clay and just slightly roll it. So when you are attaching these two pieces, you are not cup to cup. You are doing like this, okay? So there's no air bubble to trap inside. So you can slightly roll it on here and then join together. So now air bubble is on the outside, and you do the same way, okay? Do the same way, and you do the same way.
How long?
How long? I would say if you keep on doing this, roll it and then cut, I would say 4 to 5 times. So now you roll and then you cut, right? There's still air bubble. See that? Air bubble, right? See that?
Okay.
That's air bubble, right? Air bubble, right? So you bring the air bubble toward the surface and then you join again, right? Air bubble, and you do that. So 4 to 5 times you will be able to eliminate the air bubble completely, guarantee. Okay, if you just follow my instruction, don't trap the air. See that? Now it's much nicer surface, right? Better and better, right? And you join again, and you do that 4 to 5 times, you will be able to eliminate air bubble completely. Okay, so that's how you recycle your clay. And if your clay is slightly soft, like this one is slightly soft, that's fine. You have a dry clay, you can cut out and then you even it out. Like here is soft, right? You can pass around and pinch it. This is, I consider, for the hand built, a little bit soft, a little bit too soft, okay? And that's no problem. You could just cut out more clay and then you even it out, right? Even it out. Yeah, hand built, you want it slightly harder, yeah. So it helps the wall to stand up easier, a little bit easier, yeah. The wheel, if you want to throw larger pieces, for the wheel, if you want to throw larger pieces, you want to use a stiffer clay, but usually the beginner is very hard, for beginners it's very hard to handle the stiffer clay. So I recommend the people when they are doing the throwing, use a softer clay, okay? Okay, so that's how, let me wedge this one so you will be able to feel what is the right softness, okay, for hand built. And now this, I'm wedging this with a different method. It's called spiral wedge, okay, spiral wedge. It needs time to practice. If you are interested, I will show you later. But now, just try your ramp set, okay? Ramp set. Yep. This is called spiral wedge. And let me explain a little bit why this is a very good method to do that. Is when you rotate, you are rotating the clay completely, okay? Completely. Right? So let me make a mark here. So this mark is going to travel from here all the way toward the inner part of the clay. Okay.
So what do you do not to trap air in between those?
Yeah, so this is also very important. If you do this, you are going to trap the air. So when you're pushing it, you are pushing it down and slightly forward. Okay. So you are not trapping the air, right? Here's the mark, right? See the figure mark? Right? From here to here. And if I continue to go, that mark is going to the inside of the clay. Okay. So that's this way is very efficient way, but you need to practice. Okay. You need to practice. When you do that, you don't have to cut it. Yeah. You don't have to cut it. Because like I told you, the ram's head, you won't be able to eliminate the air bubble, so you have to cut it. But this way, the clay is moving around very thoroughly from the whole action. There's a turning. Yeah, when I'm wedging it, actually, you see the only two way to wedge it, but actually, when I pick up the clay, I am turning the clay a bit. Okay, turning a bit, and then to turning. See that? Turning, right? And when I pick it up. See the mark is turning, right? And then push, right? Turning and push, turning and push, turning, right? See that? It's going around. That is the most efficient way, but you have to learn it. It's a little learning curve for that, okay? Learning curve for that. So.
And how long do you do that?
40, 50 times is not very many. See that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, right? 100 times is not that difficult, right? Okay, right. So that is how the professional people wedging the clay this way. Okay, And if you learn it, I have videos on YouTube to show you how to do that. Or you can grab me and I can show you how to do it, okay? But now you want to learn the ram set first, okay? Ram set first, okay? And once you think the clay is ready, so this is the professional do. Gather the clay around and then gather it into a whole piece.
Then you just don't turn.
Yeah, then you are ready to go. Okay, so that is called spiral wedge. Spiral wedge versus a ram set. It's much easier to learn. You can pick up right away. Okay, as long as you follow my guideline, you can pick up right away. But this, I guarantee you won't be able to learn it within 1 day. All right.
Yeah.
So and now you can pass it around and feel it. Compare before and after. But if you want to keep the moisture, make sure you cover your bag of clay when you're not using it. And the trim off clay, trim it off. You could do it maybe before you go, submerge in the water and put it back into your bag. So next week when you are here, the clay is ready for you to mix them. It's a lot easier that way. Okay. Okay. You don't need to do it like right now. Right now it takes time, like 5 minutes and another 15 minutes to get water to absorb into the clay. But if you submerge in the water and then put it in your bag next week, your clay will be ready for you to wedge it and recycle it. Okay? Do recycle your clay. Don't throw it away, right? Recycle your clay. Okay? Yep. Feel it. Okay? Right. So you see that you get the clay nice and soft and ready to go without air bubble. Yeah. So the best way, okay, if you have soft clay, harder clay, you don't need to go through like that. You can just mix them, soften clay. So you just like I did, right? The clay is too soft and this is too stiff, and then you just blend them together. That's how to recycle your clay, and it's very important, okay? Because you will have lots of clay that you trim out, you're not using it, but you don't want to just throw them away, okay?